If you're an electric car owner, then the chances are that you've got pretty used to the whole plugging your car in when you get home from work, especially if you happen to live somewhere with off-street parking or your own garage. How quickly your car charges, of course, does depend on several different things, including how empty it was when you pulled in, that's its state of charge, how big the battery is, its battery capacity, which in turn determines how far it can travel per charge, and the power level of your domestic charging station. If you just use the portable charge cable that came with your car, the so-called granny lead, the chances are that it will take a pretty long time to charge overnight if you're in countries with 220 volt mains electricity, or perhaps even as much as a day or more if you're somewhere where 110 volts is the standard mains power. If you have a more powerful charging station at home though, one that can provide somewhere between 3 and 10 kilowatts of power, the chances are that your vehicle will recharge from your daily commute in a couple of hours. Even if it's really empty, a refill will likely only need to take place overnight. Of course, if all you have is that portable granny lead charge cable, you're likely to need to plug in and start charging immediately. But if you're using a dedicated charging station, plugging in straight away to charge could mean that your car is done charging before you've even decided to go to bed. In those instances, you probably want to use a charge timer. But what is a charge timer? And why should you use one? Simply put, a charge timer delays the start of your car's charging cycle to a preset time. Most modern electric cars on sale today have some kind of charge timer feature that allows you to delay charging, while many new charging stations are now offering the feature too. If your car has a charge timer built in, it may also have a timer for preconditioning, which allows you to tell your car when you plan to leave the next day, and that ensures that your car is pre-cooled or pre-warmed to a pleasant temperature before you even get in and leave. You might think that a charge timer would inconvenience you, especially if you have a long commute and you're worried about getting a full charge, or you think that you won't be able to make an unexpected run to the store or local takeout without getting range anxiety. But the reality is that even if your commute is longer than the average 30 or 40 kilometre round trip, most electric cars, even older Nissan Leafs with battery degradation, probably have more than enough range in their battery packs to handle those occasional short after-work trips. Still not convinced? Well, how about if I tell you that charge timers can save you money, lower your carbon footprint of your plug-in car, and help improve the battery pack health? Since most electricity grids experience their highest demand periods during and immediately following the evening rush hour when people are at home cooking supper and catching up on chores, plugging your car in and telling it to charge immediately when you arrive home just isn't good for the grid. And even if you buy electricity from a renewable electricity supplier, your electric car charging is still putting excess demand on the utility grid at periods of already high demand. Although more and more renewable energy is being used to power the grid in total, dirtier forms of electricity generation such as coal, oil or gas are usually used to meet demand in peak periods. Therefore, if you're charging when demand on the grid is high, you're actually contributing to a higher grid pollution than you would if you just waited until there was a lower demand. During the late evening and overnight periods, most people are asleep and thus electricity demand is low. It's at this point that energy providers actually try harder to encourage people to use electricity because the baseline electricity generation of the grid is producing more energy than is actually needed. It's the one reason why some utility companies offer time of use metering or so-called cheap rate electricity. It's more cost effective for utilities to heavily discount their rates per kilowatt hour at night time than it is to completely shut down a power plant for 12 hours. Because it's out of peak demand periods too, the electricity grid does tend to have a lower carbon footprint, which, if you're trying to do your bit for the environment, is a good thing. So you've saved money by charging overnight on a charge timer, and you're also helping reduce the strain on the grid, and you're lowering the carbon footprint of the electricity you're using. But what about that last one, the being better for your car thing? Lithium-ion battery packs used in most electric cars today just don't like sitting at a high state of charge for prolonged periods of time. It's one reason why some car companies suggest that you partially charge your electric car rather than fully charge it if you're going to be leaving it parked up for a while. Although there are some exceptions, and most car companies do suggest you keep your EV plugged in but not charging to ensure battery cooling can continue to take place without discharging the battery pack in the process. But generally, the longer you leave your car sitting with a full charged battery pack, the more damage you'll cause over time. It's not a large amount of damage, and it doesn't harm your battery as much per se as rapid charging multiple times the same day in really hot weather, but it will eventually take a small toll. Charging your car up using a timer to have it finish charging just before you need to use it is far better for your car's battery pack. And if your car has a timer and you plug it in when you get home, the car will use power from the charging station to keep the battery pack conditioned but not actually charge it, which gives you a win-win. What about those emergency trips? Well, some cars, like my Chevy Bolt EV, have a mode that lets you charge your car on a timer overnight, but only assuming the battery is more than a certain state of charge. This means your car will immediately charge to a bare minimum level you set when you plug it in, and then turn off the charger in order to charge overnight when electricity is cheaper and greener. And while I'm at it, I should note that some cars and some charging stations even let you decide to only charge your car when the grid power mix is below a certain carbon dioxide emission threshold. Similar to charge timing, it ensures your car charges when the electricity being produced by the grid is at the cleanest it can possibly be. Depending on the car you buy, you may or may not have some of the features I've just mentioned. But even if you don't, many new charging stations on the market today, including ones made by ChargePoint and eMotorWorks, have smart connectivity to let you benefit from charge timers, time of use, and clean electricity options. Do you use a charge timer? What time do you charge? And has it helped clean your electricity consumption up and save you money as well? Let me know in the comments below. And that's it. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.